What's going on, everybody? So today we weren't able to watch practice, but I do want to recap because there are some news items that I want to get to. Head coach Mario Cristobal spoke to the media as well as a number of players, so I want to get into some things that they had to say. The big news is, and just wanted to confirm, that running back Don Chaney Jr. has suffered another injury in Thursday's practice. There's details on all that on InsideTheU.com, so definitely check that out. And also reaction, what does it mean for the running back position moving forward? So I asked Coach Cristobal after practice about Citizen, with Trevante Citizen, about his injury. And again, he just said it's significant. Didn't go into details with that, but based on his response again today, don't expect to see Trevante out there on the field anytime soon. As far as Chaney go, we'll just have to wait and see what the prognosis is with him moving forward. But I also asked Coach about the running back room, the depth in general, the way it is shaking out right now. And Miami's got 3 guys now left on scholarship, and Henry Parrish, Jalen Knighton is back, and also Thad Franklin. So those are your 3 guys. If you're looking for a couple other guys, maybe for depth, definitely keep your eye on Devon Perry. He was a guy that impressed me personally at walk-on in the spring. You know, he did well, I thought, in practices and the drills, and then he looked good in the spring game. I think many of you saw him as well. He's number 46 there. So he's still on the roster, and he's the guy maybe if they need to go to that 4th guy while other guys are out. So definitely just kind of pay attention to that. But really this all falls down to Jalen Knighton and Henry Parrish. And if you heard Josh Gaddis speak earlier in the fall camp, he really felt like those two were emerging as it stood, you know, in fall camp, and we've seen that. They've looked better in drills. So those are your main 2 guys. Not the biggest guys, but guys that have been productive at the college level and guys ready to take the next step. They've got to stay healthy, and certainly, you know, Jalen Knighton coming off that off-season wrist surgery will be something to monitor moving forward. And Henry Parrish has shown good durability since he's been in college as well, so that's a good sign for Miami fans. And also Thad Franklin, you know, kind of next guy up. He's a guy we don't speak about quite often because, you know, the hype with Trevante and Don Chaney coming back. But now that those 2 guys are out of the mix, it's up to Thad to really step up. He's going to get an opportunity most likely as that number 3 back the way it shakes now. And the thing with Thad is he brings something to the table that none of the other running backs have with his size, ability to get downhill. So he's really competing against himself in a sense where he's bringing a skill set to the table that the team just does not have in that running back room. It's going to be very intriguing, very interesting, and definitely check out the video. I just did a video on all the running backs on the channel where you could see all these guys in action. So definitely check out that and let me know what you guys think. Who's going to step up at running back now? You know, Coach Cristobal spoke about some other things, some progress being made with the team, you know, and just where this team is right now. So 13 practices down, 12 more to go until the first game the way it stands. And so what's going to happen now is, so a light practice today on Friday, and then on Saturday is going to be their second scrimmage. It's going to be closed to the media. Closed there, and then they're not expected to be back until Tuesday the way it shakes out. And Coach mentioned Jordan Miller, defensive tackle, who was not at practice on Thursday, could potentially return on Tuesday when the team gets back out there next week. So we'll definitely monitor that. Jordan is a guy to me that's impressed in drills. He's kind of surprised in a sense because there's so many other guys, but he's returning. I think he's looked good. We'll see how it all shakes out. But another thing with Jordan, we talk so much about the guys who are first in drills and all these kind of things because that's what we see a lot of. And there's no doubt Jordan is leading the stretching with the defensive tackles. He's getting a lot of quality reps. So for him to get back out there as soon as possible, assuming it's nothing serious, as it does not sound like it is. So good that Jordan will be back. Another surprise to me in fall camp, you know, in addition to Jordan playing well, is Michael Redding III, wide receiver. You know, he's a guy that's almost forgotten because you got those 3 sophomores coming back from a year ago and the experienced guys at the top there. And Michael Redding III, we've talked about him, but he consistently makes plays in spring ball. I asked Tyler Van Dyke about him, kind of what to expect or how he's doing, you know, after practice today. Jake Garcia also spoke to the media. And then on defense, Tyreek Stevenson, Jafari Harvey spoke, and then Jalen Rivers on the offensive line spoke as well. So a lot of players spoke today, which was good, and Coach Cristobal, it's always good hearing from the coaches, even though we could not see anything from practice today. But Tyler said, yeah, you know, Michael's been a guy who's been very consistent. You know, he mentioned that, his consistency each and every day out here in terms of what's standing out to him. And he also added, he said, you're going to see a lot of them this season. I thought that was intriguing because to me, it's one thing to translate or impress in practices, but you've got to translate that practice work into some game stuff. And it sounds like, you know, Tyler just brought that up on his own. I didn't ask anything about, you know, what does he expect from them this season, and he brought that up. So Michael Redden III, as it stands right now, is certainly going to be a factor in this passing game, which is good to see. He's a guy that we've seen throughout these few years he's been here, kind of make plays, kind of impress the coaching staff wherever he's been, but he's been slowed by injuries. He just can't get it going in terms of some positive momentum with him, so we'll see. He's looked good. He's made catches. He doesn't seem to be having an issue with the drops like we've seen with some other wideouts. So being reliable and consistent will be important for Redding as he carves out a role in this passing game. And both quarterbacks with Tyler and Jake both spoke about the offensive line. They really like what's going on there. Jake actually talked about the defense too. Just feels like he's like, I don't know exactly what's going on the defensive side of the ball, but he just felt like they're looking good in terms of they're doing a good job of disguising what they're doing. And he also mentioned that they have a lot of blitz packages that have given the offense some troubles at times. So I think that, again, I think it's encouraging for the defense. I think you're hoping that this defense really can be strong when the season begins. And speaking of the defense, Tyreek Stevenson spoke about creating turnovers. We've seen it at the times. Again, we're not out there for every single practice, but the open practice, we saw 4 interceptions. They did have some in the scrimmage setting, the first one last week. They're looking to keep that thing going, and Tyreek is saying, yeah, they want to create more turnovers. It's something we've talked about quite a bit. So to me, in terms of turnovers and Tyreek, I've been surprised that he's not had more interceptions in his career, just the one, from Georgia and the one season at Miami so far. So I think he's got potential, and I think with where they're playing him at that star position, he is playing some cornerback. He said he's lost a few pounds, just wants to be more equipped for that position. But I think that they're moving, kind of seeing him moving in that star position a little bit, and that nickel role on the defense is good because I think Tyreek is a very versatile defensive back with what he can do with his size and his ability to cover, in particular his speed, be able to guard guys going downfield. That's a strength of his. So being able to play inside the box, be a physical guy, I think you can do a lot of different things with him, and I just think that's what is standing out to me with the defense. Not only is it a bunch of guys that are veterans, have played a lot of football, but to me there's a lot of versatile guys on there. And it's not just a defensive back. You can do it with other positions as well in terms of what we've seen at linebacker, some of the roles that these guys have been in, particularly Caleb Johnson at UCLA, the way his role changed his 2 seasons there. But obviously a defensive line, moving guys around, different sizes, and the way it shakes out on the defensive line. You can just do a lot of different things, and that's what stands out to me with the defense. I think Kevin Steele is going to maximize this defense. It's going to be really good to see when these guys get out on the field in a couple weeks. Something that stood out to me with what Jafari Harvey said after practice was the guys that he goes up against the most on the offensive line, because as you know, the offensive line has been rotating a bunch of different guys in at tackle or guard, wherever it might be, or center even. And he said the 2 guys he faces the most are the 2 you would expect in John Campbell and DJ Scaife. So, although we talk about Jalen Rivers getting those reps at tackle, it definitely feels like it's going to be Scaife and Campbell at tackle on that first unit to start out the season. As Zion Nelson works himself back, he's still in that process. Once again, nothing really new to report with Zion. He was asked about it. Coach Cristobal was asked about Zion after practice, but again, with Miami facing Bethune-Cookman in the opener, to me, it's not a rush to get him back, but he is out there, and it's good to see. Out there in terms of, not having the knee brace. He hasn't fully participated in practice or anything like that we've seen, but on the right road to recovery and being back out there, so that's a good sign. Okay, yeah, I just want to wrap this thing up. It's going to be interesting in terms of the news that comes out after the scrimmage. Very interested to see how everything shakes out when we get back out there to watch practice again, in terms of depth chart, kind of where guys are fitting in, and I do think some positions are being established as we get closer to that first game. So all that's going to be interesting. Stay locked in on InsideTheU.com and the channel. Really appreciate everybody. The support's been amazing, and hopefully have a good weekend, good rest of the day, and take care.